Artificial intelligence technology is providing companies with new processes and methodologies that turn traditional companies into tech companies. We use artificial intelligence to target specific problem statements within the public sector and private sector which align with the organization's strategy and mission. We start with our domain experts. These are experienced professionals with over 20 years of experience. Bikal's tech development team work with these domain experts to understand the industry and for the domain experts to understand how AI can be applied. These domain experts identify the specific problem statements within their industries. For instance, insurance fraud is broken down into motor insurance fraud committed by crash for cash scammers, or using AI to read CT scans for a hospital X-ray department to detect only for sarcoidosis. This technology could come from existing tech created by startups and other tech firms. We also use university research where Bikal's tech team will then transfer the tech from the university by developing it into a product.
Salam alaikum, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'll talk about how we can actually apply AI in different strategies. As a follow-on from the video, if you have a look at this particular statement, the key word there is experiment and scale. So the idea today is we're not here as a company or as an individual, we're not here to sell you product or to try to explain how things are naturally done in the West, but how we can actually work together. That's the key part of today's talk with you. So, problem statement. As the video explained, how do you actually break down a problem statement within your company? Okay, organizations are large. Defining a problem statement as you want to increase profit or reduce costs is not enough with what we think is AI. To experiment and scale, break down the problem, right? If you have your AI strategy or you have any other business strategy within the company that you want to use AI on, you have to break down the component parts of that particular problem. Okay? So, what is AI? As we've had a couple of definitions, obviously from engineer Wahabi, obviously from NVIDIA as well. We use AI every day. We're using it now, it's in your mobile phone. In maybe 2-3 years' time, 10% of the audience will come via a self-driving car. It's being used as we speak. On the right-hand side is the Hollywood depiction of what will happen in the future. And you always see different dates and times of when these things occur. The fact is we don't know. Right, and you'll see later on in the presentation how you can actually create some of that technology within Oman as well, and we want to help you create that. Okay, so domain experts. Okay, so today is not very, we're trying to keep away from the technical element of obviously what AI is, because there is a human element. Okay, artificial intelligence doesn't work in its own sort of format. But, you can say machine learning, deep learning. You can talk about self-learning and how. Computer software and computer hardware will do all the work for you. You need human input. So in the UK, what we have is we have a number of domain experts. These are experienced individuals, but they also understand technology. They appreciate technology, but it doesn't work on its own. So as an example, you have obviously a doctor. He's a pediatrician. He works with us in terms of detecting where there's problems within children's health so that they don't have problems later on. Very important in terms of obviously preventative care, so that obviously the future bills and the current bills of obviously healthcare are reduced, plus also the suffering of obviously children's health. Then you've got the insurance and banking fraud expert. Again, not an insurance and banking industry expert, but fraud. He specializes in fraud. He uses his knowledge. For 15-20 years, he's seen the evolution of various software, but again, using AI, how can you actually automate those processes? But not just automate the processes to make them quicker, but actually disrupt the actual end problem statement as well. That's the key to it. And if you look, it's a bit small writing, but you have a telecom expert as well. We're actually doing something in the UK as a small example, where if you have an ATM card and it's used, let's say in Muscat today, at 10 o'clock, and then at 10:30 it's being used in Abu Dhabi, which of those two transactions are fraudulent? How would you actually figure that out? The best way is you work with the telecom company. There's a small piece of, they call it SRI, sending routing information, which pings the phone, so most likely the bank card will be with the actual phone. So wherever that location comes back with, that is obviously most likely, in a high probability, the right location. So that is a very important, if you like, distinction, the connection between the two domain experts. Getting people like this round a round table and helping with your problem statement is what we can provide. okay, with Oman Data Park. Then you've got on this side, you have the police officer, again, 30 odd years experience. A lot of it was in violent crime, violent robbery. He has an overall experience, but again, obviously we're not trying to bring UK problems to Oman, but obviously we can adapt to whatever problems are in Oman because we have that experience. Okay, so these specialists are available, and like I said, there's the lady on the end. She's a domain expert in oil and gas. So again, when it comes to using high-performance compute and rendering graphics to detect your fuel locations, your gas deposits, your oil deposits, again, she's had that experience for 20 years working with Shell and working with BP. So domain experts are fundamental to how we actually bring that consultative experience with Oman Data Park to actually help you solve particular challenges. So how do you actually get advantages as well in terms of how do you actually create your own AI strategy once you have the domain experts? The top diagram there shows obviously how at the moment everything is siloed. The bottom diagram shows obviously how you want to be able to actually bring different data sets together, but also you can actually have multiple hops. What that basically means is if you are a bank and you have a customer, that is your first hop. But that bank customer may have 3 or 4 hops, i.e. their job, their family, their other aspects of their life that will affect your relationship with that bank, okay? So how do you actually bring that data into one place? With AI, you can actually do that, right? Before, obviously, doing that manually is quite a laborious task, but with AI, you can do that. Simple thing, maybe connecting to, getting permission to connect to someone's LinkedIn account, or getting linked or connected to other social media accounts will bring that additional information. Okay, ethics, AI, and regulation. Everybody thinks that AI will take away jobs. Again, we don't believe that. This will enhance jobs. This will enhance the economy. So getting that understanding into your strategy is important, right? How do you build your framework so that privacy laws are respected, the right laws are used, and the data ownership really needs to belong to the people, obviously, that you work with, right? So whether it be a company having their own data, whether it be an individual being in control of their own data, build that into your framework, right? So that way everyone then begins to trust it more as well. And if you see the last diagram, the idea is, they call it cobot, don't they? That the robots are working with the humans in various ways. Think of a strategy where there's an ongoing sort of oversight in terms of your ethical AI, in terms of your framework, and assess. Don't believe what the AI tells you. It must be questioned. There may be a separate panel of non-technical people that you should employ that will actually question these results. We strongly recommend that in any AI strategy. Okay, so data, right? Data is the new oil. You've probably heard that many, many times. Or data is the new gold, whichever you want to take. But everybody in the room, if you're any large organization, you will have data. We are working with some emerging economies where there's files and files of paper documents. That is data. Yeah, if you have to scan that and then use that, it is data. Use it. It is your asset. I think eventually these things will end up being on company balance sheets at some stage. And then training. I think sometimes, when it comes to AI, people, again, operatives within a company may sometimes think, it's too technical, they don't want to understand it, or they don't want to learn about it just because of the science element behind it. I think it was AT&T, took all their 230,000 staff on a 6-week AI training course so that everybody knows what AI is. They may not use it, but at least they understand what it is. Strongly recommend that as part of your strategy as well. It's very important to try and just get people into the realm of understanding that they are using AI every day, right, on their Twitter accounts and Facebook when it's working, to use that as part of their understanding and learning. Okay, so this is where I think, like I said, we're trying to localize. We're trying to localize development within Oman. The idea is obviously to bring some ideas, some fresh strategy that we've used in the other parts of the world. Obviously, we used in the UK and we've developed in the UK. But how can you apply it to Oman's 2040 vision? The universities here, I think, are very rich in talent. From obviously the percentage of women graduates in tech is a lot higher than it is in the UK. So we should tap into that. I think there is an ecosystem within sort of the startup scene as well. And with the Oman Data Park, the way that they're set up in terms of the virtual lab, reducing the cost of experimentation, right? Going back to my initial point, can you experiment cheaply? Yes, you can now. Before in the past, you had to get your own AI stack or your own GPUs, whatever. Now it's a case of getting something spun up very quickly. You test for 2-3 months. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you shut it down and you try something else. That is a big advantage in the country. And like I said, keeping the data local, okay? Because that is your asset. Okay, so obviously not very clear here, but so Silicon Valley is a mindset. There's a phrase somebody once said is that we can't always outspend the big tech companies, but we can outthink them. Okay, so there's enough within Oman, I believe, and we can talk about this once the event is over, in how you can use your current data assets, your current human resources, and the strategy that the Oman government has as well to actually create product locally, right? So we want to, share those ideas and share those ecosystems that we have developed locally with partners here. Okay, so it doesn't matter how big the company is on an Omani level, but even on a global level, again, it's just about if you want to create something, you'll be able to do it. But how do you do it? So big companies always are worried about, do they have in-house creators or in-house innovators, or do you outsource it? Again, that's a decision, that you have to make probably at the board level. We have seen both ways working, but both ways failing as well. Okay, the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Right, so obviously we've heard many times that if you have $1, put it into AI. I think you've just got to look at, do you innovate? Do you just work with a startup ecosystem, be part of an accelerator and support the accelerator and then pull out ideas? Or do you get involved directly yourself? Something like that has to be thought of and planned. So this is how it's typically done. So TRL means technology readiness level. Okay, this is a NASA scale that's used in terms of when they develop product and when they use it. We sit at the 4, 5, 6 level. So typically we bring 1, 2, 3 is the university, 4, 5, 6 is the biggest risk. That's where the experimentation takes place. Okay, so that's where the domain experts come in. We can bring those domain experts, we can bring our own tech, we can bring the university algorithms and experiment with you, like say using Oman Data Park's infrastructure, GPU infrastructure. It's very simplified, and once it gets to 6, 7, 8, then it's obviously something that you can implement and then you can scale up. And you might scale up by supporting the SME or the startup to do it by themselves, and then they can grow to other jurisdictions, other exports, or it just becomes a very sort of bespoke tool for your own company. It could be that specific, so you're only targeting your own problem statement. And so this is it. This is, in summary, is what we're trying to basically do. In the UK, we are part of an accelerator that's owned by Telefonica. They started it because they were pitched WhatsApp, and they said, no, we don't think that's going to be big. And so they actually created their own accelerator as part of that. And from our sort of discussions over the last year with obviously Oman Data Park, with the Oman Tel Hub, and with the UK Embassy as well, we found that there is an ecosystem and there's a willingness, I think, within Oman to actually develop and create these innovations. So we want to work with the companies in the room today. Myself and my colleague are here as well. We've got the virtual booth is set up as well. We've also had the great support of Oman Data Park's sales team as well, which I guess everybody here knows. But let's just talk about experimentation and creating a strategy. We don't have to talk about anything big. We're not talking about big sort of 6-figure, 8-figure implementation. Let's try a few things. Yeah, let's be open-minded, try a few things. If we fail, we fail. If we don't, we'll find something fresh as well. But ideally, ultimately, we will save a cost along the way because we all have to be in the AI journey. Okay, thank you.